30 minutes. We're not going to
Perfect.
go over 30 minutes. I'm setting a timer now.
And what
It has
if our time
begun.
is worth as much as a lawyer's?
Probably not, but I have no other reason to use this fancy chronograph that I have, so I use it on trivial things like this.
Perfect.
You
What
know,
are we
I'm
talking
not
about
doing
today?
as I'm not doing as much measuring race cars as I was promised from the promotional material on this watch.
That feels like a you issue. You could go measure race cars. I
I
assume.
guess it
Where's the
is, yeah.
nearest
They
race?
just
Do they do races on? This is going to be such a stupid question, but do they like do races
do
on the
they
West
do
Coast?
races? Yeah, they do races on the West Coast. They have Laguna Seca Raceway is up in like outside of San Francisco. There's Willow Springs Raceway out in like the desert. There's Button Willow also. There's a couple racetracks out here. What you don't see a lot of out here is rally. There is not a lot of rally racing out here,
That's the one where
which
they
is
like do normal
interest.
roads and they don't have directions and stuff. Oh, that's the fun one.
Yeah. I love watching rally racing. It's there's some on the East Coast, but there's really you would think for how much desert and stuff we have here in California that there'd be a bigger scene. Not really. Anyways, we're off track already.
But not
We're
off
jumping in at
racetrack.
the top. Uh, uh, um, Ryan, you sent me something here on Slack.
Soup you can
Soup
suck.
you can suck on.
Yep.
Nope, nope. Their PR team, I'm sure, added that word on at the end.
Oh
I'm
well.
sure.
It doesn't make it
Um,
better.
or probably legal, to be honest with you, because I read that and I said, "Oh, soup you can suck." Like starts with an S, ends with an S. Like it just it's a nice like complete feeling thought. And then they added on, and they felt like let's not end the phrase with suck. We're General Mills. We have to end it with something else.
Fair. Don't tell the Latin people because it
What
ends with
Latin
a
people?
preposition. People who are into Latin don't like it ending with preposition, which is not true. Actually, you can totally end it with a preposition. It became a thing in like the late 1800s where a bunch of Latin professors who were starting to feel irrelevant in the modern world were like, we're going to make a bunch of prescriptivist rules about grammar based on Latin, like, but not English. And that's where we got you can't end the sentence in a preposition.
Wow, I did not know that.
You're welcome.
It's pretty good,
This is what
Ryan.
you come here for.
Pretty good. That's what I come here for.
Really stupid fucking
Um,
facts.
for
Soup you can
reference,
suck.
soup you can suck on. Um, we just came off of what was it, like a 2 hour call, Ryan, with a lawyer, about another thing. So, excuse us while we change gears here
Oh, we really?
to
I was
something
actually
a
really
little bit
excited
more.
to talk about how stupid that was, but we can.
No, no, no. Sorry, I meant to the listeners at home that like we're like mentally we just came off of this call, so like soup you can suck on. I feel like is very funny, but I'm just like, uh-huh, yeah, great, moving on. Um, but yes, please tell me your thoughts, Ryan. I have like I like it from a marketing perspective, but I would like a just when you saw it, what were your first impressions?
Who the fuck thought of this, and how can we fire them from every job they will ever have?
Really? Tell me why do you think it's bad?
Nick, have you ever had cold soup?
Yeah, I'm sure a few times.
It's all right. It's not as good as hot soup.
Yeah, but the lozenge has no temperature. When you suck on it, you're gonna
Oh,
warm it
yeah,
up
hold
in
on.
your mouth.
You're spoilers. Have you ever had room temperature soup?
No.
It's shitty. It's really, really bad. Now imagine you took that room temperature soup and made it crunchy. But not like fun crunchy, not like Doritos crunchy, like break your fucking teeth crunchy. So you have to
See,
suck on it.
I
Think about when you had soup. No, 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 hold on, hold on. We're gonna go all the way the fuck through this. Think about when you've had soup,
Okay.
and then like not like an hour after, but like 2 hours after, where you were done having that taste lingering in your mouth, but you haven't had a chance to brush your teeth because you're sick. So you've just been lying in bed and you're miserable, and you can just taste the remains of the soup in your mouth, plus the starting bacterial buildup, and it's just the worst thing you could possibly imagine. And now imagine I was like, I can sell you that experience, and not only can I sell you that experience, but I've made it in such a limited capacity that you're going to have to get online like you're trying to get fucking Comic Con tickets to buy that experience.
I mean, look, Ryan. It, the, I think the piece of context that you're missing is that this was not a product made in earnest. It was a marketing stunt. Yes, they sold some. What we don't have visibility on is how many, because they're a very large company. They probably could have gotten away with making, I don't know, 100 cans of that or something. So to say it sold out is, we don't have any quantity on
No,
that.
I'm sure it was an
Two, it
incredibly
looks like
small run.
it comes with a can of soup. And the can of soup and those lozenges are selling for like $3, which okay. But more importantly, it was a marketing stunt. It was meant to garner attention,
We are
and I
talking about
think
it.
the like no, to a certain extent, no press is bad press.
Look,
You're out here outraged by it, but
I don't eat a lot of soup, but I'm never eating soup from this company again. Just on how
see, I
disgusted
don't
I am
think
by
you
this
are.
idea. I mean, it's true because I almost never eat soup, and I think I only eat
I
like freshly prepared soup.
Yeah, I'm not a big soup person. I had a traumatic soup experience when I was little, so I
Oh,
don't
that
really
sounds
do
like a
soup.
story.
Yeah. Well, remember when I was? Did I ever tell you when I was little? I'd have my jaw wired shut.
Oh, vaguely, yeah.
Yeah. So we were like building my little sister's like playhouse in the backyard with my father, and my grandfather, and like I was like we were getting the roof on up, and for some reason like my grandfather had this notion of like over engineering the shit out of this playhouse. So what was supposed to be like a little like triangle roof with, I mean, it was the 90s, like genuinely like a piece of fabric over that as the roof.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, "Oh, we'll put some planks here and then I have some leftover shingles, like roof shingles, and we'll just do it like a real roof." So this thing that was, one person could probably hang it up ended up weighing I don't know, like 80 pounds or something like that. So it took three people to like get it up there. I was at the bottom pushing up, and look, it's somewhat of a blur, but there was like this big gust of wind that caught the underside, and they lost their footing on it and let go. And I was at the bottom, so then the whole roof fell on me, and I landed, and then I landed like this, and the roof landed like over here on my jaw, and it snapped my jaw in the middle right here. It snapped it on the, I don't know where it goes into the skull, on both sides. So I basically had like three snaps all at once on my jaw. So to get the bones here and here to set, you basically like had to like not move it
Mm-hmm.
for like 6 months. Um, and this was like sophomore year in high school, so the perfect time to come in with like a mouthful of metal. Uh, but I had they like basically did like braces, it looked like, but then went up and down and like shut it.
Mm.
And I had like one small tooth, and I could fit like a little straw in it, and that was everything I ate for 6 months. So it was soup, it was smoothies, it was protein shakes. We tried to blend like a In-N-Out burger once out of desperation. Um, it did not work well. Um, but after that, I just like I can, if it's a special, like you said, like there's certain kinds of soup, maybe if it's something special, like a cup of like corn chowder in a bread bowl like at Disneyland or something is like very nostalgic to me, and like that is fine. But if I'm just like picking my options, it's not gonna be soup. I'm not picking soup.
Yeah.
I just can't do soup. Um, I feel like every one of my old Latin relatives had some kind of one food that they wouldn't eat because of one experience when they were little. And I always thought it was the silliest thing. I was like, oh, just get over yourself. Like, what do you mean you don't eat chicken? What do you mean you don't eat fish? Like, what do you mean you had this one time you saw a dead chicken and like that was it for you or something? I don't know. And now I'm like, oh, I don't do soup. I'm like, something happened traumatic when I was little. I don't do soup now. So that's my soup story.
Don't do soup. So you would
Soup,
agree
soup.
that soup
But
sucks, and worse versions of soup suck more than regular soup. You couldn't have even eaten that soup.
yeah, but like, but you know, if the thing is, I can see the conversation where a marketing team was just like, hey, it's National Soup Month. Everybody's going to be pushing some kind of soup within this category that is very similar between brands to the customer, at least. How do you stand out? And I think this was like, we're talking about it, so if you weren't offended by it, which I know, like, you're getting on your soapbox about it. I don't think most people are going to like care enough to be that offended by it. But I do think that it's like novel enough to stick in their head, and you're going to like, they're going to go to the store, and the next time they're thinking about soup, they'll be like, oh, that was so funny that Progresso did that. It'll be top of mind. And then you get a whole bunch of influencers that bought this to make content. And then you're going to get all the content on eating soup that's hard candy and all that shit. And then they'll get a second wave because they'll tag Progresso because they want to get sponsored and all that shit. So, like,
you want to know the best
I think it
part
did its
about
job.
This? I had completely forgotten the company that did it and thought it was Campbell's.
Oh
So
my
this whole
gosh,
thing was
really?
in my mind an ad for Campbell's. So
Wow,
clearly they
okay.
didn't do a good enough job.
Well,
I'm just here to
obviously,
shit on
the
soup you
marketing
can
worked.
suck on.
Obviously, it worked well on marketers that were like, I respect the hustle, and I remembered the brand. I guess it didn't really maybe do its intended effect. You're not remembering that the can was blue at all?
No, I don't remember. You know what? I feel like this is like a marketer's. You know how, of course you do. You know how Hollywood does the thing where they're like, we're making a movie that we don't give a shit if it makes $0. We are making it so that the people who are in Hollywood can feel good about themselves, and then they're all going to
Yeah,
vote
I love
for
those
like
movies.
the Emmys or whatever the fuck you get
Yeah,
for voting for Hollywood stuff. I don't remember which one is what. Anyway,
sure.
you can tell I care so much about pop culture. Um, anyway, all of that to say is I feel like this was a marketing thing that they were like, we want a marketing award. We're going to do a thing that's really clever, that's not actually going to work on
I
regular
guess
people,
so.
but all of the marketers
Did
can be like, oh my
you
god.
did
Hold
you
on, which one
see?
is it?
Speaking of like
Which one is it that the Academy votes for? What's the name of that one?
the Academy votes for the Oscars, which is
Oscars. Okay.
movies, and then Emmys is TV.
Okay. I think I did know
Um,
that actually.
uh, what's it called? It came up in the meeting. Remember the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts and Sciences?
You know, I heard that and I was like, I think that's one of those.
Yeah. Um,
You
what's
know
it called?
what?
Did
You know what else he
you
did talk about?
what?
And why I couldn't pay attention to what was happening after. The first thing that he brought up off the top of his mind was the RIAA, and I was just like, well, I'm fucking pissed now.
What did you bring? Wait, what did you bring up?
The RIAA,
What is that?
the recording industry cabal.
Oh, that one. I guess I didn't know what it meant, so that one went over my head.
Perfect.
They're a nonprofit, Ryan. They're making the world a better
So
place.
they must be good. They're making the world a better. They're making the world a better place. They should really do a
Yeah.
startup.
They're doing a public good that the community can't. So
That's
they're doing
true.
it for them.
I can't randomly sue grandmothers for accidentally having their 15-year-old son download something illegally in like 1995. It's actually no, it was like 2005 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See? The
public
world
good.
is a more equitable place.
Look, We are creating companies that stop elderly grandmothers from being able to park in a reasonable spot. They are here suing elderly grandmothers for not knowing how a computer works and letting their 15-year-old grandson on.
Yeah.
That I think we're all
You
making the
know,
world an equally better place.
Ryan, I think just the moral of the story is that after a certain age, just that people have no value. So we should just craft laws and companies around that sentiment, obviously.
Surely. All right,
I'm
what else
sure
do you want
that's
to talk
not
about?
polarizing.
Well, I mean, we do, as a callback, we do have to make people angry on the internet. That's the rule.
Yeah, that's engagement. Engagement gets the views. No, did you see that Coors Light ad with like the case of the Mondays that the like
No, no,
famous
I heard
marketing
about
agency
that.
did
I
called
thought that was pretty clever. I liked that. I wouldn't drink it, but I liked
again,
it.
I will see, and that's the like I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was really like conceptual, and I feel personally that the overlap on a double bubble map of individuals that appreciate and engage with and enjoy conceptual advertising campaigns and people that drink Coors Light is not a double bubble map that has enough overlap to warrant a marketing campaign directly geared towards those individuals.
Yeah, no, I think I can heavily agree with you. But I am going to point out that even if the marketing failed, it's still a product that people know and like, and it's not fucking
Yeah,
soup drops.
no,
But
but
no,
it's
you're
like
100%
I
right
don't
about the
know.
demographic.
It
Like that's a swing and a miss.
Well, and it was done by Mischief that does like a lot of really highbrow stuff. And again, this feels like that is their brand, and maybe Miller Lite, Coors Light, Miller Lite, I think it's Coors Light, uh, like wanted to try to do something different, but I don't know. Like the fact that they were like, we all got a case of the Mondays, a case of the Mondays, a case of beer. Monday after the Super Bowl is like the worst Monday. So like you can go online and get a free case of beer. I thought the hook was really creative, and then the call to action was like you pulled it out of a hat, a marketing
Mm-hmm.
hat.
Mm-hmm.
Register to get a free thing. Yeah,
Do you
you and fucking
remember?
everybody else. Like, huh.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no.
Nick, I had a lot of time that I got to complain about something. I think you can finish your complaining before we move on.
No, I'm just like, if you're gonna spend the time to do something that is so creative, maybe that was like a mandate by the client, but it just feels like they to use the only football reference I know, they like fumbled at the 1 yard line. That the other half of that ad was not something just as original as the first half of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like if you saw an ad campaign that you were like, oh my god, this like broke through the noise, this got me, and then they're like, so get a large Coke at McDonald's and scratch off a scratcher. You're like, wait, what? That's the payoff? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, this is more of a problem for whichever the beer company was that, what did we decide was a Coors? This is more of a
I think it
problem
was
from
Coors.
Coors because, like, you just said, like, this ad agency does a certain type of ad. Like, why did Coors choose them? Like, they
Yeah.
should know from the start. Like, again, we should be firing marketing people. I don't actually endorse that.
Well, let's not just say things we can't take back. But uh, Ryan, I thought about
Wait, oh, hold
after
on.
our last. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
Because I had the thing that I wanted to say. It can be very short. Do you
Good.
remember back in the day when you like would like get a bottle of soda and win something just by opening it up, and you didn't have to give away all of your information to not win?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Um, but we're in this stage now. We're in this drought. This drought implies that it could go back, that it could reverse. I don't think it's going to reverse. We are the wild west of free data that marketers were able to use to sell stuff is coming, is ending. The railroad has now passed through the town. and they're, the lawmen are coming in to start levying taxes on the frontier town. Like
Mhm.
it's settling down um,
Like a
into
respectable
like greater
establishment.
normalcy. Exactly. So you're now getting these people that got really used to a certain level of data to just have. And when you take that away, you're basically saying, go ahead and just like rethink all of your models and how you allocate spend and just like fundamentally how you're running your advertising. And for a lot of people, because the data was so free flowing for so long, it's not like it was for a year and then it's like, oh, well, let's go back to the old strategy. No, you have people coming into the workforce that have been doing this job their whole professional career. They've had this data, and now you're just like, no, you don't have it anymore.
Yeah,
So
you can't go back.
what do uncreative people do? They go to the low hanging fruit. Everything is fucking has a rewards membership now, where they're like, I literally went to Panda Express yesterday, and they're like, you want to sign up for our rewards? No, I can't envision a world where I want to sign up for Panda Express rewards and download the app and get another email for 10% off a bowl there. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, like, no. And it's because they used to be able to run way more advertising, and now they go, well, you know what? Let's start trying to get emails from the people that come into the store because all that data is offline if they pay with cash. Um, so, like, even if they pay with card, it's not necessarily that easy to stitch it together. But if they give us their email, that like first party data, then we can remarket to them like we used to from people that like were lookalike audiences, people that might be interested in our product. So, like, people are either going to like sign up for an account, get rewards, there's some kind of club, there's some kind of something. It it was a good tool, and then I think unfortunately too many people used it and it kind of like lost all me. This is the clubhouse
Mm-hmm.
which is now like a parable, because it was invite only and it was just this rarefied air, where there was like people pitching companies and venture capitalists going like, here's my personal cell phone, let's chat about this. Or they're like, hey, you have 20 minutes uninterrupted to speak about your idea. And then they opened it up to everybody, and then it just got watered down and flooded, and all the quality left or was still there but was mixed in with so much nonsense
Yeah.
that there was no value. But anyways, like, yeah, to your point, like they got used to that data and now they can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
They can't get rid
It's
of the habit.
I like the kind of concept of your analogy to Clubhouse and like how oversaturated it is. Um, like back in the day, it started with grocery stores, right? Like your local Ralph's or whatever. You had the little mini keychain thing that you had to like slide over, and there was a barcode on it, and that was like the thing.
Yeah.
And it got you
Oh,
some
they
amount off
still.
it. No, I know they still do it. It got you like some amount off, and like that was great. And like it's funny actually. I'm sure I'm confusing the shit out of some poor algorithm, because I never got one of those because I don't know when I was like 14 or 15 and needed to go to the store. I just by that point you could put in a number instead of having the barcode, and so I would
Yeah.
use my mom's number. And I have never had a grocery store club card or membership, whatever the fuck they are. So I have to this day, anywhere, any store I go, I still use my mom's number. So I'm sure
What I
it's
what
just
I
very confusing to them.
dislike what I dislike about those is that at some point it turned into, or maybe it was, and it was just me thinking that the world was different at a certain point, that the price without the club membership is not a real price.
No, it's just the expanded. Yes, and you
Like,
know what's even worse now? They've gone
what's
all the
worse
way
now?
around in full circle. So now you go in there and they have the regular price, which is the fake inflated price. And then they have the grocery store price. That's like you're a cool kids club member of this fucking Ralph's or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they now have digital coupons that you can only
Oh, those
access if you have an
fucking
app for the thing. And it's like you're already getting my fucking information. Like you know
I
everything that I
hate
buy.
that's the will the line in the sand is the app. I'm not gonna download the Ralph's app. I'm not gonna download some clunky thing that you offshore devved to use as my key thing in like shopping? Absolutely not. Like I just it's so incestuous. I can't.
And it's I recognize that I am not the average person, and that my normal response to being like targeted by marketing is to be angry and be like, no, I'm done, I'm never buying your product again. But like I'll literally see something and it'll be like, oh, I guess I don't want cheese. Like I don't want to have to deal with not getting this.
What what really bugs me is the amount of friction they put into that app where it's like, oh, just scan every single thing you're putting in to see if there's a coupon, or search every single thing before you put it in to see if there's a coupon. You're like, I don't want to do that. If there's a coupon, can't you just like automatically load it on the card so I only scan it once? And they're like, well, if you add your shopping list in the app, we'll flag if there's a coupon. You're like, no, that is a very blatant attempt to get me to use this app. I can see through that. I'm not using the app. There's been a couple things like that. It's fucking frustrating.
It
It's
is.
if I had the time to just shop at like farmers markets, I would, but that's not
No,
sustainable.
not at all. Um, all
Um,
right.
hmm.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna mute here. Hey, my love, do you mind turning that off? We're still recording the podcast. Okay, thank you. Lauren just got home with an audiobook going.
Okay.
I was like, I don't want to get DMCA'd for audio clipping over.
Was it the Power Broker, Ryan?
No, it wasn't. God, I wish. Um,
Oh, okay.
uh,
Um,
If you want, I got you your Taco Bell order.
I
you were
I
gonna
was
say something and
thinking
then I
about.
interrupted you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I was thinking from the last episode when we had that boring business that like it would be not to bring in too much structure, but maybe we just like always kick it off with a boring business idea because I feel like it's something that's fun to talk through, even though if the actual business is monotonous.
Maybe. Let's try it. I'm not sold. I don't hate it, but like
Okay.
it's not in.
Well, here's the thing.
Ironically, it's not interesting enough to me of a concept that I really want to like lean in.
God damn it, Ryan! You and all the VCs. This is why nobody's doing boring businesses.
Well, it's a reason.
Um, this so like here's my. It's not a boring business, but it's like a business that is more behind the scenes than like doing anything too public. We started talking about it on Slack, and I was like, oh, I'll tell you during the podcast. Like I don't know if you've probably never used Siri Shortcuts, which is like an app on Siri Shortcuts is basically Apple making an Apple version of like Zapier, but like just on your phone or on your computer. It was incredibly robust, but it was for a company that does a lot of like no code, it just works. This gave you so much granularity that like people just like didn't know what to do with it. So if you weren't like a super power user, you just weren't using this feature set that
Mhm.
basically let you automate anything on your phone. Um, Part of the issue is that first you had to kind of accustom yourself to the language of the code building to understand what did what and all that kind of jazz. It was very granular. So I can imagine that there is a level of people that need some bit of customization, whether that be an individual, more likely a small business that doesn't have the resources for anything like more advanced, or to hire somebody. But if you had something like Zapier or something of the sort, where instead of building it or typing it, you basically just said, hey, I'm on this website. When I do this, can you enter it over here for me? And then make sure that you send a note to so and so. And like it took that voice prompt and then built it and then just say like, does that look good? Because you're like, no, if I knew how to do it, I just do it. I don't know how to do it. It can like validate it. If it's like the Claude thing where it like clicks around on your computer, it doesn't need login like separate credentials to anything. It's just doing it on the computer. And then you've effectively like built that automation
Oh yeah,
just with
sorry. This is
voice.
different than what you had described earlier. This is not only totally
What did I
doable,
say?
but You talked. Well, I mean, you said Zapier, which has a very specific set of. They work very closely and like have partnerships with companies to expose to them APIs that you don't otherwise have access to, which is so that's like a much deeper level of automation than you just described there, which 100%. And in fact, I don't know if you've been watching the oh god, what is his name? The dude who does like the like really in depth and like actually not sensationalist AI news of the day.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, 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 yes.
uh, they just released for the $200 a month or whatever the fuck they're charging ChatGPT. That, like exactly that.
Oh, seriously? Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. He told them to go
Okay,
buy him a
well,
beanie on Amazon, and it did it. And there were like complaints about it and how it did it, which I think is going to be the hard thing. So like he had his cart full of a bunch of stuff that because apparently he uses his cart as a buy later, which is a choice. But you know I'm not here to judge people unless they're supermarketers. But like he had that full, and then he was like buy this one thing, and it emptied his cart so that it didn't buy all of those things, which he thought he had lost everything. It turns out that it just put it all into like it created a new list to dump that all onto, and didn't tell him that. So there's going to be a lot of stuff like that, but like we're already pretty much where you're at. It's not great, but it wouldn't
yeah.
be great no matter who put
Oh,
it out
okay.
right now. Like it's going to take time.
Yeah, boy,
It's like
that
honestly, I
that
heard that and I
that
was like, maybe you've convinced me. Like not that I would have a lot of use for that, but that is 6 months to 8 months ahead of when whatever version of that is going to be accessible to people for not $200, and it would be nice to use it beforehand to see where the trends are going to go.
yeah. That sounds like a very the fact that it found its own solution to the problem. I feel like I've seen this in a movie where it's like, oh God, what the fuck movie was it? Was it Terminator? Is it Skynet? It was something where they're like, oh, this is the directive. The best way to achieve this directive is to like get rid of all people. That technically fulfills the
Yeah, that's
directive.
a pretty common like AI sci-fi trope.
You were like, buy this thing, and you're like, well, okay, you told me to buy this thing. Like, I chose to move these other things out of your cart to then buy it. But what if it was just like the easiest way to buy this thing is to, I don't know, or like get me the best price. And it's like the best price
Mhm.
is to go on AliExpress and buy 100 of them because then they will be 10 cents each. So I got you the best price. And you're
Mhm.
like, I can just see, I don't know, is it, do we have a shorthand for that yet? Are we calling it like genie wishes? Because that's really what it feels like.
Shit, there's a name for that, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But yes,
I'm gonna call it genie wishes
but
if
that's like
nobody else
honestly
claimed that.
not just an AI thing. Like I use this analogy when I talk to people about. I really like having the idea of paired opposing metrics um, that you like use to evaluate someone on, because it prevents them from going exceedingly far in one direction. And like the analogy that I use for this is very over the top because it's illustrative of the point, which is like you tell someone, hey, you're a factory manager. You need to make sure that this factory never drops below 60 degrees or it's going to ruin our product. And then you go away for a week and you come back and there's a giant pile of rubble because what is the easiest way to exceed your KPI as fast and as much as you possibly can? Set the building on fire, right?
I guess so.
And so like you always have to be like, pair again. This is an absurd analogy, so I guess you would pair it with and make sure that the structure remains while you're doing so. But like in reality, like you find these things that are opposing to make sure that you never go so far in one direction that it becomes absurd. And I think especially in organizations where there's like a lot of siloing, as a manager looking at that and looking at the the kind of opposing needs of these different business units and saying, I know that these people over here don't give a shit if something happens to this because they don't know and they're not affected by it. So you impose the negative effects of that on them in order to balance out whatever they're going to do. It's the long term. sales. It's the any of that, right? Like sorry, I just lost my train of thought there. The whole thing that
It's
you were
okay.
looking at.
It's because we just got 30 minutes, so that's
Oh, did
why
we hit 30 minutes?
we said
Right.
we would do 30
We
minutes.
should cut it off right before
We
I say something stupid.